Alright, the time is here. Time to talk about Alita Battle Angel. I put this movie in my top 10 most anticipated movies of the year. I said it was the most risky movie on there. Is the movie good? Let's find out. So, Alita Battle Angel is directed by Robert Rodriguez, the guy that brought us both Sin City movies and Spy Kids. The movie was produced by James Cameron. This is a manga from the 80s, 90s, I don't really know. James Cameron's had the rights to this thing for like 20 years, and then he realized he was never actually going to make the movie. So he let Robert Rodriguez direct it, and he stayed on as a producer. The movie is about this cyborg girl named Alita. Christoph Waltz finds her in a scrap pile, and he puts her back together, and she has this new life with him, who's an inventor. She's trying to discover her new life under the care of Christoph Waltz, while at the same time trying to figure out her powers, and also trying to figure out where she came from and what that could ultimately lead to. Now, I was really excited for this movie because James Cameron. I love James Cameron, and I don't think I've seen a bad James Cameron movie that he's directed anyways. He has put his stamp of approval on a couple of really bad projects. I'm looking at you, Terminator Genesis. This is the true Terminator 3. Shut up, James Cameron. But James Cameron is awesome, and Robert Rodriguez is a pretty good director too. So how did this movie work out? Here's what I'm gonna say right now. This review is therapy for myself, because I'm still not entirely sure if this was a good movie or a bad movie. I saw this movie a few weeks ago, and I have flip-flopped so often since then. We'll see what I end up deciding on by the end of this review. Let's talk about probably the reason that you go to see this movie. The visuals. They look amazing. I saw this in one of those Dolby Cinema theaters. My local AMC theater just put one of those in, and I have A-list, so it's basically free. But seriously, this movie looked amazing. You know that, like, roller derby thing that they show in the trailers? All of that looked incredible, and all of the cyborg dudes in this movie looked really cool too. I was worried about the effects on Alita. I remember the first trailer, which I think was in front of The Last Jedi, but something about Alita just did not look right. But the trailers did begin to win me over, and at the end of the day, I ended up liking the design of Alita. This whole movie hinges on the character of Alita, and Rosa Salazar, the actress who plays Alita, I thought did a really good job, because this is a character that you can really get behind. The movie is sort of the emotionless cyborg trying to figure out her humanity, but it's different from something like Terminator 2, where she's a stone cold killer from the beginning. She's not. She's really optimistic, she's really fun, she hangs out with a couple people, and she schools them in that roller derby game. It was really cool seeing Alita interact with the world around her. That darker stuff does end up coming later in the movie. Some of it is her doing, some of it is not her doing. But for pretty much the entire movie, whether she's making a good decision or a bad decision, you root for her. She's like Pinocchio. Alita's Pinocchio. I'm going with that. That's staying in the review. And sticking with this analogy, the Geppetto of the movie, Christoph Waltz, whose name I actually don't remember, I'm sorry, but Christoph Waltz was really good in the movie too. I don't read manga, I don't watch anime, so I don't really know how this is supposed to play out. I have heard though that Christoph Waltz is really close to the inventor in the manga, so that's good for fans of the manga. But seriously, Christoph Waltz is just a really good actor. He was in Django Unchained. What was the other movie he was in recently? Oh, he was in Spectre. And he was pretty good in Spectre. Basically, I like Christoph Waltz. He did a really good job in the movie. He has a little more of a role than I thought he was going to have, actually. And he isn't just like the Uncle Ben to Alita's character. He's not just there at the beginning of the movie, make sure you don't make any bad decisions. This guy has his own struggles, his own personal demons, which they do touch on in the movie. And it does provide a couple of really nice character moments between him and Alita. There's a lot of other people in this movie too. Mahershala Ali is in this movie. Jennifer Connelly is in this movie. There's a couple of surprise, I guess you'd call them cameos, that I didn't know were in this. But Mahershala Ali and Jennifer Connelly, I don't want to say they didn't need to be in the movie, but those characters could be played by anybody. Well, the acting was good, the visuals were good, most of the emotion of the movie landed. Let's talk about the weakest part of this movie, and it's a big one. It's the script. Like I said earlier, this thing was adapted from a manga. In a manga, you have a lot more time to go into details, a lot more time for subplots. Alita has that feeling where it's taking a much larger story and trying to cram it into 2 hours of movie. And not in a rushed way, but just in a, they focus on one thing for like 10-15 minutes, that gets resolved. They focus on another thing for 10-15 minutes, that gets resolved. Focus on another thing for 10-15 minutes, and it really feels like a series of vignettes from time to time. There is an overarching story throughout the whole thing, but the majority of the time that story gets shoved to the sidelines while we focus on these little subplots. Some of them get resolved, some of them just kind of get forgotten about. And while the movie isn't very long, I think it clocked in around 2 hours. It wasn't like a 2-hour movie that felt like an hour. It was 2 hours, and it felt like 2 hours, maybe even longer than 2 hours. The movie could never find its cadence, and because of that, it feels so disjointed. disjointed. Nothing about the movie fit as well as it should have. Really, it was lacking in focus, because also they introduced a lot of characters in this movie that I don't remember. And it's hard. It's a sci-fi world. They have weird names, there's a lot of weird characters, a lot of characters going in and going out. But I'm not gonna lie, keeping everything in this world straight, that was tough. So here's where I'm at with Alita. I want to like the movie, and I think that there's a lot of really good stuff in this movie. However, it has a couple of glaring flaws that almost derail the whole thing. The script in general is bad, and speaking of the script, the ending of this movie, whew, didn't like it. But I will say this, I have a friend that I saw it with that did really enjoy it. He's more of an anime guy than I am though. So maybe if you are into anime, particularly into the story of Alita, maybe you'll have more fun with this movie. But yeah, this movie just, I don't know. I feel like I will see a sequel if a sequel gets made, but this first outing, it could have been stronger. So there's my review of Alita. I know it wasn't really like a definitive, this movie's good, or this movie's bad. I think this is one you really have to see for yourself. I think if this looks like something you'd be into, go check it out. If the trailers didn't win you over, the movie's not going to win you over either. But anyways, Alita Battle Angel. Did any of you guys see it? Let me know what you thought of it down in the comments. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys liked it, you can click subscribe and check out some of my other videos, and I'll catch you guys next time.